since this is our Instanet class, let's first talk about the ways that we can access Instanet. We're going to look at the two basic options for accessing Instanet, and then when we start a transaction, we'll look at some other ways to access it as well. But getting logged in, if you want to go straight to Instanet Transaction Desk, it's going to be in the Netris Applications and Services section, the very first section on here. And you're going to look for this green, some describe it as a sunburst, some would say it's a fan or something like that, but it's these, it looks like also green sheets of paper there that are kind of fanned out. This is your Instanet dashboard tile. It's going to say Instanet right down there. You can just click on that tile to get logged in. It's going to open a new tab and it should auto log you in. All right, so that's your first option. It will always default to your agent dashboard. All right. Now, if your dashboard looks different from mine, do not panic. That is normal. This is a customizable screen, and we will look at the customizations when we finish our first transaction. Let's go ahead and close out of this tab, though. I'm going to show you the second option. Back to your dashboard. And we're going to click on Netris Matrix because obviously we spend a lot of time in Matrix. So we want to make sure you have access to your other applications within Matrix. So click on that Matrix tile. And again, just like the Instanet dashboard, your Matrix dashboard is going to look different from mine. But make sure that you have your external links widget. If you don't have the external links widget, look under your additional widget. It might be collapsed. Just look for additional with that green plus sign. It could be anywhere on your screen. So if you need to scroll down, go look for it. If it looks like this, click on that little arrow to expand it. And if it is in there, you will find it with that chain link icon. It says external links. Go ahead and pull that out. It's just a click and drag. Click and drag it out here. And then under the external links, it's going to be almost at the end of the products and services Instanet Transaction Desk right there. This is going to give you single sign-on access as well. Just click on it and it will open right up. Now, if it's your first time logging in, Instanet may do what we like to call a pre-flight check-in just to make sure that all the systems are working properly and that it is connected to Matrix. So just give it a couple seconds and it should bring you to that main dashboard. And then if we have any new members that are joining this class today, depending on the timing of when you joined us, if you're active in Matrix, it will take 24 hours for you to be active in Instanet. So just in case we have anyone new joining us today that just joined within the last 24 hours, there could be a little bit of a delay there. But let's get started. First, on this transaction desk page, we're going to go all the way to the right-hand side, and we are going to click on that gray silhouette icon on the top right-hand corner. Everyone should see that there. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. This gray icon on the top right next to the shopping cart. Click on that. You're going to get this little pop-up down below, and we're going to select settings and go into our settings, see what kind of preferences we can set up here. Now, there's a lot of settings that you'll have access to. Unfortunately, we do not have time to cover every single section today, but we're going to go into our preferences, very first option on the list. And these are just the different sections that you can add information to. So starting off with your user information, just click on that arrow or click on the title to expand that section. This is going to be all about you. So like I said, all of your contact information comes from our member database, so that account access portal. So you'll see information like your name, your license number, your phone number, email address, and you'll notice here some of these fields are editable, but just keep in mind our system refreshes with our member records every 30 minutes. So if you update anything in here, it is going to revert back to what we have in our member records in about 30 to 60 minutes, depending on the timing of that change. So if you need something updated just quickly to get a quick transaction out and you want your information to look correct, you've got that in here, but make sure you are going either to your account access portal or contacting our member services team. All right. Okay, so let me go ahead and collapse that user information section. Let's look at the office information. Now, this one is not editable. You cannot change your office information. If you need to change offices, that is going to require some additional paperwork. So if you do need to request a an office change, you're going to need to call member services and get what's called a status change form. All right. And they will be able to update your office for you once that form has been updated. So this one cannot be updated. If you need to get this changed, contact member services. And if you need to email member services, if you do have information that needs to be updated, their email address is memberservices@dfwre.com. All right, now we have our email signature. This can be edited, and this is important to have because if we're going to send out our signings or send any documents out to any other agents or anyone else we're working with, this is not going to be connected to our email account. So go ahead and set up an email signature real quick. I'll give you a couple seconds. Just add some basic contact information in there. As you can see, there are no tools in here. It is just text only. So if you want to copy and paste your signature in here from your email, you can do that, or just type in any custom information that you'd like to include, and then click update to save those changes. Now, if you do update your office information, don't forget this is going to be set up manually, so you will need to make sure your signature is updated with whatever your new contact info is going to be. All right. After the email signature, you do have a branding section. Now, the branding section is going to allow you to add photos in here. Let me remove these so you can see what it looks like if you have nothing on there. So you have 3 sections where you can add your branding to. You actually do have a fax back cover sheet and an email banner. You can add this. It's going to tell you the recommended dimensions for those items. Yes, there is a fax back cover sheet. I know you're thinking, wow, it's 2025. What do you mean? People still fax? Yes, people still use fax, and we do want to make sure your cover sheet can also include the branding on there. So if you want to add something in there, just click on this section that says no photo available. It'll take you into your files, and then you can access your photos and select whichever one is going to work. Hopefully this is okay. All right, it doesn't match the recommended width, but I'm not actually going to be sending anything out to any real clients, so I'm okay with that for now. From here, personal photo is next. If you want to add your headshot, again, it will show you here what the preferred dimensions are. So I'm going to add that. Of course, it's going to tell me every single time that it's not matching the recommended width and height, but it seems to be displaying okay, so I don't have a problem with it. Oops, did not mean to click on that again. All right, so we have our banner, we have our photo. We can also add a company logo, so let's go ahead and add that as well. If you have these on your device, go ahead and add them. If not, you know where to come back and add them later. There we go. So I've got all 3 covered here. And if I need to remove anything, just click on the X on each section if you need to remove anything that you no longer need. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I don't need to make any other changes on here, so I'm going to minimize the branding. The very last section on here is your login. Now this one, I'm going to point it out, but I would not recommend that you use this section at all. You can update your password, but if you'll recall, we logged in here using our Netris dashboard and our Matrix external link, and it automatically logged us in. So we do manage your login information here at MetroText for this account. So if you've attended some of our other classes like RPR or ZipForm, we do not manage those accounts. So that is entirely up to you to decide what your password is going to be. It's not connected to your MLS login, but Instanet is. So if you do need to reset your password, contact the MLS department. We can send you a password recovery link or a link to reset that password, and it will match Matrix, Netris, and Instanet, and your cloud products as well. All right, that is our preferences. Now, how do I get back to that dashboard? So from here, if I want to go back to my dashboard, on the top left-hand corner, right next to that Lone Wolf icon here, in case you're not aware, Instanet Transaction Desk is owned by a company called Lone Wolf, so that's their little wolf logo there. Right next to it is a little gray arrow. Clicking on this arrow is going to expand your main menu. So this is your main transaction desk account. You should see some of the icons that I have here. You may or may not have everything I have. I have a staff account, so I will have both the agent and broker tools on here, but you should at least have your dashboard. All right, go ahead and click on dashboard there. That's going to take us back to the main agent dashboard page. All right. So if you ever get lost within Instanet, we find that's probably one of the more challenging pieces is the navigation here. This is your main menu. The dashboard, you can add anything you'd like to this dashboard, but your main menu is always going to have everything you need. Okay, so the dashboard is what we're starting to look at right now. The customizations we will look at a little bit later. But I want to point out one other thing on here. If I have any brokers that are joining us today, if you need to switch from your personal agent dashboard to your broker dashboard, and keep an eye on your office transactions, if you have any documents that were sent to be reviewed for approval, all the way on the right, underneath the gray silhouette icon, you have these two other silhouettes on here. If you click on this, it says here, switch to broker view. Go ahead and do a single click if you have that access, and it will take you to your broker dashboard. All right. All the customizations and everything are going to be the same. It's just going to give you a view of your office versus just your personal transactions. So if you are following along, if you are a broker, go ahead and click on that agent view so we can switch back. The rest of this class is going to be focused on the agent view. Okay. So let's take a look here. So in order for us to start a transaction, we need to see a couple of functions that we still have within Matrix. So I did say we would look at the basic ways to access Instanet. Now we're going to look at one of the more advanced options, and we have to exit from Transaction Desk in order to do that. So let's get out of here. We're going to go ahead and click the X on there. If you still have Matrix open, we're going to be using Matrix. If you don't, go back to your Netris dashboard and log back into Matrix. So just make sure you're on Matrix. All right, let me go ahead and discard that. Okay, so we're going to start a transaction. We're going to do it with a listing that is in Matrix. Keep in mind, it can be, it needs to be an active listing. It can't be any under contract or pending or anything like that. And I've already got an MLS number that we're going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and add that MLS number in here. For those of you following along, we're going to go ahead and just use that search bar at the top of the page here. And the number we're looking up, it is 208-426-35. I'm just going to highlight that in here. This is the MLS number we're looking up. For those of you that are following along, do not worry. Anything that we do in today's class is for practice only. We will have no impact on this listing. All right, I just need an active listing for the example. I'll show you how you can delete the transaction before we finish our class. If someone will please remind me just in case. But go ahead and search. We're going to look for that property. It should be 4666 College Park Drive. And the first thing I want to point out here is, let's say you're working with a buyer and they're interested in creating a transaction, or not creating a transaction, excuse me, in making an offer to purchase that property. Matrix will let you create a transaction within the listing, and it's going to allow you to import all of the listing information, all of the contacts, the agent, the seller, the broker information, and any documents on that listing. All of that will be imported into your transaction for you if you start it from here. So first, let's go into the main listing view. Click on that MLS number. So here's our property that we're going to make an offer on. And I want to point out one thing before we create that transaction. If there are any existing documents in this listing, on this view, right under the word listing, right up here on the top right-hand corner, you have an icon here. It's a stack of papers. Let's see here. Let me zoom in. These icons are so small. It's the second one on the list here, these stack of papers right next to that clock. If you click on this, it's going to show you any existing documents that are on that listing. So we have offer instructions, survey, property highlights. You could also find any addendums, any your seller's disclosure usually. So any documents that the agent has added, you will be able to see those on here. So when we create our transaction, let me close out of this. When we create our transaction, these documents will automatically be imported into the listing, or I'm sorry, into the transaction from the listing. All right, so that's how we can look at those documents. Now, if they have different privacy settings set up, then it may limit your visibility on those documents. They can make them private. Looks like the 3 that we saw, they were made visible to all MLS agents. All right, now going from the left side all the way to the right, you see that link there that says Transaction Desk? It's got the little Transaction Desk logo here as well. This is going to be for you to create a transaction. All right, so if I want to make an offer on this property, all I have to do is click on Transaction Desk. Let's go ahead and click on it now. And it's going to open Instanet again. But this time we get this pop-up here. Do not close out of this. This is very important. This is where we create our transaction. All right, and take a look at this. It already has the requirement of the name. You can see that red asterisk in there. The only requirement for you to start your transaction is a name. Now, since we started this from Matrix, it is going to give it the name of the address, but you could change that name at any point. If you want to give it your client's name instead or anything else that's going to help you recognize what this transaction is for, you can rename the transaction. I'm going to go ahead and leave this as it is. Next up, you have a section for templates. Now, we're not going to do templates in this transaction. We'll create a custom template in the second transaction we do in our second hour. But some of your offices might have already set a requirement that does require that you use a template. So if you're not able to follow along without the template, please bear with us. We will do a template on the second transaction. But go ahead and see if you can follow along with the template. We are doing an offer on a residential sale. So if you have a template for that, maybe you can try that when you follow along with this. So we're going to skip the templates here. Next, we have our type. This is what type of transaction are we doing? It is a drop-down menu, so just click on the drop-down menu. And you can see here there is commercial, condo, residential, and land, and it'll give you the lease, listing, and sale options. Today's is a residential sale. Residential sale, we're going to select that. That's making an offer on a residential sale. Residential lease is going to be if we are doing a lease application. And then the listing is for when you're going to list a property for sale or for lease. So we're going to select residential sale. There we go. And since we started this within Matrix, this import data section already says Netris and it already has the MLS number. Now, if I skipped that step, if I started the transaction from Instanet, I could still retroactively enter that MLS number and I could select Netris as my source. Now, clicking on this drop-down menu, we do have a second option. So if you are going to start a listing, then you could actually use Realist Tax to bring in that information. Or maybe it's a property that's, if you don't have information in Netris, you can use that information instead if you have the tax ID. Let's see here. If we have some time at the end of class, I'll show you how you can create a listing in Instanet. Or if you'd like to stay after class is over, I can show you how you can create a listing in Instanet because it has a little extra feature there. Final step here, add me as the selling agent. It already selected that because we selected residential sale. But let's say maybe you're not just the selling agent, maybe you're going to be the listing and selling agent. Now keep in mind here, Instanet is used by multiple different industries, not just real estate. So it does have listing agent and selling agent. This is your buyer's agent. All right. Listing agent is the listing agent, but that selling agent sometimes gets confused. That is your buyer's agent here. So we're going to be representing the buyer only. We're not the listing agent. And then you see that checkbox there that says use wizard. Do not uncheck it if you're following along. We are going to use the wizard. The wizard is going to help keep things organized. It'll make sure that you don't miss any steps. So I want to make sure that you always leave that checked. With that, let's go ahead and hit create. And let's take a look at the transaction. So now we are going to put together the information for our transaction. Since we imported MLS information, we have that photo of our listing here. We can see that is the correct property. We've got the name of our transaction. Again, you can still edit this if you need to change it. Over here on the right, this is your status. This is the status of the transaction, not the status of the listing. Okay, so you do have active, closed, expired, open, pending, withdrawn, all of these statuses to keep track of your transaction. All right, I'm just going to leave it on open. And then up here, you can see just some basic information about our transaction right now, the address for the listing number, the seller information. It does say whatever was in the listing. So they didn't have the name in the listing, but I'm sure those offer instructions probably have the information that you need. And then of course, you'll see yourself listed as the agent because you are representing that buyer. Now down here below, let me see, I may need to zoom out a little bit just so we can see that screen better. There we go, all of the information down here. So down here below, we have our wizard displaying the 5 steps to creating your transaction. Starting with our details. Again, if you did not use MLS information, you can enter all the property details from scratch on here. But since MLS imported the data, we don't have to enter any details here. It's already got the full address from the listing, year built information, school district, tax number, all of that, even the property description in the comments. And it's got that list price on there. All right. If there's any other information that you need to add, you can still add it. If there's anything you need to change, you can still change it. The real important thing I want you to take away from here is that all of the information in your transaction can be changed and edited until you do your signings. Once you do your signings, you cannot change that information. All right. Now, another really great thing about this system, anything that you add to your details, if your forms have a field that matches any of these sections, it's automatically going to add this information to your forms once you select them as well. So this is going to really be a great time saver. Oh my goodness, it's Thursday. Let's use our exclusions as an example. What does the property exclude? Let's say maybe the washer and dryer are not included. Washer and dryer are going to go with the seller. So we're just going to put washer/dryer. All right, and that's just so we can see if it will carry over into the form. All right, that's all we're going to add on here. That is step 1. At the very top, click on that blue button that says next. We're going to go to step 2. Step 2 is your transaction dates. So with your transaction dates, we already have the list date coming from the listing. You can add the expiration date, the offer date. We're making the offer today, so let's just put today's date on there. And then anything else that you need to keep track of as far as your dates, all of that can be updated on here. Now, you don't have to have all the information right now. If you want to come back and add it later, you can come back and add it later. But if you have any details that you can include on this transaction, you can add it at this time. Let's move on to the next step, step number 3. This one's very important. This is where we're going to have our signer information. So our buyer who's going to be signing these forms. So on the contacts page, you can see it already has the listing information. We have our listing agent, listing broker, selling agent, so myself, and the selling broker. It does have the seller, but again, it says see offer instructions. So let's take a look at how we can update the seller information. Let's say we got their contact information, their first and last name. If I want to edit this, my editing options or my menu items is going to be over here on the right. These 3 vertical dots. Click on this. It says menu when you hover over it. And then you'll click edit, or you can delete if you have something on there that doesn't need to be there. So click on edit. We're just going to update the name here. And here you can see this is where you set up a contact. So you will always need to have a type assigned. This is our seller. Change that first name. We're going to be working with Sally, and her last name is Seller. And we'll update that legal name as well, Sally Seller. That's who we're working with today for our for the selling side. The only requirements for your contact is the type, the first name and the last name. Everything else is optional, but if you are getting anything signed, you need an email address because you'll need to email them that e-signing packet. All right, we're not going to send anything to this seller, so we're going to go ahead and save that information. Click Save at the top right-hand corner. And now you can see down at the bottom, Sally Seller has been updated. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add our buyer because that is who we're going to be sending the signings to. So if you want to add someone new or create something new in Transaction Desk, look for that plus sign icon. Right here it says add. Click on that plus sign, and it's going to give us a couple options here. We can create a new transaction contact, which is what we'll use, but we can also add an existing contact. So if it's somebody that you've worked with in the past, maybe the buyer is selling a property that you are also listing, you can add an existing contact. You can add yourself if you need to add yourself, or you can even add your contacts from Google. I'm sure this will require you to log into your Google account, so we're just going to go with that first option, create new transaction contact. Now we have a blank form on here. And my buyer today is going to be, let's select our buyer on our type here. The buyer today is going to be Miranda Bailey. Miranda, last name Bailey. Yes, that is Dr. Miranda Bailey from Grey's Anatomy. So I've got her name in here, and then for her email address, I am going to add an email address that I've created for my pretend client. If you're following along and you want to experience what the client e-signing process is like, put your personal email in there so you can follow along with that part. Do not put Miranda Bailey's email address in here because your signing is going to come to me, and I can't complete all those signings. So let me add her email address in here. Okay, and that's all I need to add in here. At the bottom, if you want to save this person as a contact, maybe you're going to work with them again in the future, you can save them to your address book. All right, and then you also have another tab at the top. If you need to add their current address, you have a second section for that as well. All right, we're just going to keep that basic information, first name, last name, and email, and I'm going to save that information here. And it's going to add my buyer down at the bottom here. All right. Now it's very important that we make the correct selection on the type, because when we add our forms in the next step, those forms are going to know where to add our signature boxes based on what their role is in the transaction. Let's go ahead and click on the next step. Don't forget, guys, we have that questions box if you need to ask any questions, or if you'd like me to repeat something, or if you just are really excited about anything that you're seeing, just let me know your feedback. Next up, step 4, this is going to be your forms. So with the forms section, we're going to go ahead and explore the forms libraries. This is where you'll access your libraries. If MetroTex is your board, at minimum, you should have your Netris library, your Trek library, and your Texas Realtors library. How do we access those libraries, though? I don't see them on here. Top right-hand side, click on that plus sign where it says Add, and that's going to open up your libraries. Here we are. So these are the 3 that you should have at minimum if you're a MetroTex member. All right. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to go up to the top right-hand side and search for the forms that we're going to use. All right. So on the top right, the reason I'm going to the search instead of selecting one of these folders, if I use this search, it's going to search every single folder for the forms I'm looking for, and it's going to filter out my options for me so I don't have to scroll through the list of forms that are there. Again, if you don't know what forms you should be using for your transaction, this is just for practice. I'm going to call out some forms, but you may not necessarily use these forms for every single transaction that you do. So remember, talk to your broker, talk to the legal hotline if you need that guidance. So let's go ahead and type in our first form on here. We're going to search for our 1 to 4. I'm just going to type in the words 1, 2, 4. And it's going to filter my options out. All right. So we have our 1 to 4 from, it's going to tell us down here, Texas Real Estate Commission. So this is coming from the TREC library. And then the second one here is from Texas Realtors. All right. And then people often ask me, which one do you prefer, Texas Realtors or TREC? Well, if TREC creates a form, Texas Realtors is going to have the same form. They're going to have the same options. What I have been told is Texas Realtors will sometimes have a more specific form that's going to break it down for the listing side or the selling side. So it's really up to you. Use your judgment or get advice from your mentor, your broker, whoever you can turn to within your office that can give you that guidance. I am going to go ahead and go with the Texas Realtors folder because from what I've been told, they update their forms first. And usually TREC will follow shortly after that. All right, so I've got the Texas Realtors one selected. I'm just clicking that little circle there to select it, just that little circle. It's going to turn green. It's going to add a little check mark in there to tell me that I did add it. Now, if you look in the top right-hand corner, you have an add button and you have a basket. The basket has a number 1. And if I want to, I can go ahead and add that form if it's the only one that I need, or I can keep on adding more forms and I will see them all collected in this basket here. So I'm going to delete the information from the search and I'm going to look up my third-party financing. So just type third party. Let's see if that comes up. Third party, and it has both, again, the Texas Realtors and the TREC form. So I'm going to stick with the same option I'm using here. Check that box there. I'm sorry, it's a circle, it's not a box. Check that little circle there. And look here, the basket now has 2 forms. And we're just going to add the very last one. That's going to be our IABS. Let's try the abbreviation and see if it'll come up that way. IABS. No matches. All right, don't worry. It does have the IABS in here. I just wanted to show you guys, Instanet is going to require that you type all the words on here. So let's type in information about, let's see if that's enough. Let's write brokerage, information about brokerage. There we go. So here are your 3 options. Information about brokerage services from TREC. And then Texas Realtors, like I said, they have a more specific listing and selling side. So since we're representing the buyer, we're on the selling side. So we're going to go ahead and select that last one there. All right. And now we have 3 forms in our basket. This is just adding them to the transaction. Go ahead and click that add button now that we have all 3 selected. Now it's going to take us here. We can see all 3 forms are here. Now you might be tempted to start filling out those forms, but let's finish the final step with our wizard, and then I'll show you how you can pre-fill those forms. All right, so let's move on from here. Click on that next button at the top. Now for step 5, your documents. If you'll recall, we imported the data from MLS and any information in that listing carried over, including the documents. So you can see the documents that were on the listing carried over into the documents section. Now, some of you might be wondering, we just did forms. Why do we have documents and forms? What is the difference? There is a big difference, and it's very important that you understand that difference there. Your forms, those are blank fillable forms. They do not have any information. They are not signed. They are editable. Your documents are going to be PDF documents that are already filled out, already signed, and cannot be edited. That is the difference. Forms, you are free to make changes. Documents, you are restricted to what is on that document. It cannot be changed. Okay? When we complete our signing, those forms will be saved in your documents section. All right, I'll remind you of that later. But you also have your fax back cover sheet in here as well. If you need to use fax, that's the cover sheet so they can send it back to you. If you have an IABS that was already signed, if you don't need to add it as a form, it's already been signed well in advance, you can upload the signed IABS from this page. All right, just click on that add. You can go into your files by clicking on this blue button here, and then you can add whatever it is that you need. All right, let's say we have our seller's disclosure. We'll add that in. All right. So all that information, anything that's already signed, you can add that in. That's all I'm going to do for here. So let's go ahead and click done. And now our transaction is set up. So from here, we have our transaction dashboard. This is going to look different from person to person. This is also customizable. Just like our agent dashboard, the transaction dashboard can be customized. We will not do the customizations just yet. So let me just give you a quick reminder. Your agent dashboard, your main navigation, is on the top right. These green menu items here, that's your main navigation for your agent dashboard. I'm going to click on this arrow again to minimize it. Your main navigation for your transaction is going to be on the right. So we have another arrow icon here. Click on it to expand it. All of these blue icons on the right, this is your transaction menu. Okay, green is on the left. That's your agent dashboard. That is your main account. This is for the individual transaction, this blue text here. And if you ever want to go through the 5 steps on the wizard again, just click on wizard up at the top. It'll take you back to all 5 steps. But all the sections we went through in the wizard are in this menu. So, like I said, we're going to fill our forms out after the wizard. So that's the next thing we're going to do. Over here on the right, look for your forms. That's going to be right here. And let's click on forms. So from here, we're going to pre-fill our forms. Now, we are not going to go through the entire process of filling out every single section on this form. We don't have enough time for that in this class, and there's a lot that we need to cover. So we're just going to cover the main functions within these forms, all right? We like to call them smart forms because they are smart. They are going to know what our needs are. So let's start off first with our 1 to 4. It's right there on the list. If I want to edit this form, I just need to click on the title here, and it's going to take me into that form. All right, this is your forms editor. From here, you can already see my seller information is already here, where the seller should be listed. My buyer information is already here, where my buyer should be listed. So already, by setting up those contacts and assigning them as the seller and the buyer, I don't have to add their names anywhere else on this form. It's already going to be on there. Next section here, you have your property information, so the address that came over from the listing. Now, if any of this information needs to be changed, or if you need to add someone, you can still do that. If I have to change Sally Seller to Sally Salinas, this is not just going to update my form, but it should also update the contact retroactively as well. All right, so these forms are very smart. So let's keep on moving here. All of this, remember, forms are editable. So even though it imported from the transaction, look, our exclusions, that washer and dryer, it came over from the transaction. We can still edit this information, okay? This is still able to be changed. Next up, let's take a look here. We've got some number fields here for our sales price. Now, for the sales price section, these 3, they do have to add up. So first we have line A, the cash portion of sales price payable by buyer at closing. Let's keep these numbers simple, okay? We're just going to put in 1 million. So that's going to be number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. Notice how I did not add any commas in here. I just did the numbers only. But once I click out of this box, it's going to auto format that with the commas and the decimals. All right, so I don't need to do any of that in here. Just the numbers. Next up, you have line B, so the sum of all financing. We're going to make that easy. That's going to be 2 million. So 2 and 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. Again, no commas, no decimals, just the numbers. And then I'm going to click out into the space over here, and it's going to auto format both of those numbers here. And you'll notice here, line C, it has to be the sum of A and B. It's already going to do that math for me. Now, I kept this simple with some pretty easy numbers, but I'm sure when you're making your offers, it's not going to be so simple, right? So it's going to save you some time from having to bust out those calculators. As long as you know what line A and line B should be, those forms are going to do the math for you. Just don't forget not to add any commas or anything. It's not necessary. All right, next page here, you can see at the top, the address for the property already added on there. Once again, another little tedious thing you have to do on every single page. It's going to save you that time from having to do that all the time. Let's look at section 5 here, just so we can see another feature with these number fields. It will allow you to add a 0 amount. So you could add 0. Let me just do a 0. There we go. Just the number. click out of there. Again, it's going to auto format it for you. Okay, this is just so you see how the tool works. It will let you do a zero amount if you need to, just a zero. All right, it's pretty simple here. If you're using zip form, it's going to be a little tricky to add a zero amount, but on Instanet, it will allow us to just type the zero and then it will auto format it. All right, let's move on here. So what page are we on? This is page 2 of this form. Let's go over to page 5. If I know some information I need to add in here, I can go straight to that page without having to scroll by using the tools at the top of the page here. You see all these tools on here? If I want to add any more, any features like a watermark or anything, if I need to print or send or anything like that, I have other options. I also have font options if you want to change the color. Check with your broker if you can change to any of these funky colors over here, like the green or that bright pink. Not sure if you can use that for a legal document, but I'm using blue here so you can see the text. But you can also change that in here if you need to switch to black text instead. That's in here. And then over on the right, you have this little book, this open book icon. This is where you can jump to specific pages on that form. All right, so we're going to jump over to page 5. So just hover over the book and click on page 5, and it's going to take us straight there. The other tool on these forms I want to show you is your calendar. So I'm going to go over here to the closing date. All right, again, this is just for the example, but if you want to, of course, you can type the date in here. But if you can save yourself some time by clicking a few buttons, that's going to be great. Click on that calendar icon there. When you click on the calendar icon, it'll expand this calendar here. And let's go ahead. I'm just going to go 2 months in the future and select a random date. Looks like May 14th is the day. Once you click on that day, it's going to automatically add it in here for you. All right, so we have looked at the text, we've looked at the dates, and we've looked at the number fields. One other item here is going to be checkboxes. So just scrolling down to section 10, if you click on a checkbox, it's going to select it. That's all you have to do. Simple as that. Just a click. Single click, it'll add that little check mark and highlight it in green. Once you click out of it, it'll leave that check mark in there. All right. One other section I'd like us to look at here, let's go to page 8. So go back up. Actually, I'm so sorry. Page 10 is what I'd like us to look at. Go back up to that little book here, and we're going to jump over to page 10 because I want us to see the information that carried over from our listing. On the broker information page, we have the office for both listing and selling sides. We have the agent, the contact information, the address. Anything else you need to add in here? For example, are you the buyer's agent only or selling side? You can make that selection there. All right, again, those check boxes. But keep in mind here, I want to make sure everyone is aware, it is not going to add your license number in here. So you will need to remember to add that in there. So go ahead and add your license number. If you are part of a team, you can add the team name here as well. Same for the listing side. All right. Now from here, let's go ahead and save the information and move on to another form. At the top right, click on that save and exit right there. Now, if you don't see save and exit, maybe you have your Zoom on your browser eliminating the text. It's going to be the X up here. If you hover over it, it says save and exit. Go ahead and click on that X. All right, let me zoom out again. That's a bit too much. Okay, so that's our 1 to 4. Let's go quickly to our third-party financing addendum just to take a look and see if it carried over information into this form as well. This one's not going to have as much detail, but we do see here, look, the address is already displaying on here. And then we can select whatever applies. And then same thing, it's just going to be number fields, text fields, and check boxes. Those are the tools on these forms. At the bottom of the last page, you can see those signature lines. The buyer is assigned to the buyer. The seller is assigned to the seller. If you have more than one buyer, it will automatically place them on the second ones as well. All right. Now from here, save and exit. And then finally, let's look at that IABS. And now on this one, it is not going to carry over our information. So we have to fill this out from scratch. So let's go ahead and take some time to fill this out. All right. And I just want to point something out here real quick. It was supposed to be a 5-minute break, not a 10-minute break. So sorry, guys. I have been teaching our in-person classes all week, and it's been a 10-minute break every time. And, sometimes you just get autopilot. But I hope you enjoyed the extra 5 minutes. So we left off on that IABS. Now, I went ahead and pre-filled my contact information on here. If you're following along, go ahead and add some information on here. But after we finish this transaction, I'm going to show you how you can make sure your IABS is always filled in a template. So you can go ahead and skip that step if you want to. But from here, I want to make sure we are in at least one of these forms because I want to show you how we can start the signing process. So if we're ready to get this signed, on the top right-hand corner, right next to save and exit, there's a little pen icon. That is for your signing. So in any of these forms, you can go ahead and click on that pen icon, and it's going to take us into the new Authentisign. Now, Authentisign is similar to DocuSign, but this is free. It's included with your membership. It's included with Instanet and with Zip Forms. So this is where we will set up our signing. Now, since we clicked on it from within the form, it includes the form on here, just that individual form, but we can add the other ones later. But as you can see at the bottom here, it's not going to add any initials or signature boxes right away. We have to add our contacts to the signing. So we had a ton of contacts in this transaction. We only need to add the individual that's going to be signing these documents. So this is only going to go to our buyer. So on the top right-hand side, you can see we have the signers section already highlighted in that green color. Here's where we can add our signers. We're going to go from top to bottom here looking at the documents, and then we'll do a closer look at the other tools with the second transaction that we do. But let's click on Add Participants. We're going to look for the contacts in our transaction. So click on Add Participants and then click on Add from Transaction. Now from here, which one is our buyer? Miranda Bailey. It's got buyer in parentheses there. Oh, added even more here. So it just jumped down at the bottom because it was adding all the listing side as well. Check the box for your buyer. When you check that box on the right-hand side, it's going to tell you the type. It's always going to default to remote signer, but you could also add someone as a reviewer, meaning they will review these documents. Maybe they have an attorney that wants to take a look at this and give them the okay to sign it. It'll send it to their attorney first, and then once they give the approval, then it'll go to your signer to complete the signing. You can also add someone as a CC. So if they just want to send a copy to someone, just get a second set of eyes on there without taking any action, you can do a CC as well. But we're just going to stick with that remote signer option and click select. This is what's going to add them to the signing. So now we've got under our signers, Miranda Bailey. Here's a preview of her initials. It's got MB for her initials, and it's going to all have the yellow color. In our second transaction, we will do 2 signers. You'll see each signer has their own color assigned to them. Now on the form in this middle section, you can see the initials already were added to the buyer section. So there's nothing else I need to do from here. It's got the initials and the date in there as well. You can see that month, day, year down there. So on the right-hand side, we were on the signers section. We're going to go to the docs section. That's where we will add our documents and our forms. We can see the IABS is the only one in here. So click on that green button that says add a document or form. It's going to give us this pop-up here. And here's everything in the transaction. On the bottom left-hand side of each title, it's going to tell you if it is a form, it'll say form. If it is a document, remember those are the PDFs that cannot be edited, it will say document. So go ahead and add your 1 to 4, click that add button. Once it's added, it'll have a check mark and click on that third-party financing. This is all we're going to add in here. We're not going to worry about the documents just yet. We'll do that on the next transaction. But add those forms. You should have 3 check marks here now. And then click close. Now if I scroll down, I'm going to see my other forms on here. And if I go to the bottom, the initials are already on there. Keep on moving Initials are already on there. Every single page, whether it's initials or signatures or any action that your signer needs to do, it's already going to add those for you. So that's, again, saving us time from having to add every single little box to each line. That is the value of the smart forms. That is what makes them so smart. Here we go. Signature box as well, already there. And then let's go down to that third-party financing. Make sure it also has the signature and initials. Yes, it does. All right. So from here, I have nothing else to do. Everything is already on here. So I'm just going to click next at the top right-hand corner. Click next. It's going to give me the option to set an expiration date and to send daily reminders. I can go up to every 5 days. All right. But our signer is going to sign this immediately. So no need to set a reminder. We're just going to click send, that green button down there. Now from here, let me go ahead. I'm going to open up a browser for my client. But I want you to see here, once we complete the signing, we were in the form section, right? Now we're in the signings section right below it. So this is the signing we created. And here's the status of our signing. It says sent. Once it's completed, this is going to update. Right now, we can see the status here as well, 0 of 1 completed. If I hover over show participants, it'll show me the name of who is meant to sign it. If they complete their signing, we're going to have a little check mark next to their name as well. So now, if you sent this to yourself, go ahead and go to your email inbox. And I'm going to pull up my browser for my client. Let's move this over here. This is now switching gears. We are no longer the agent. We are the client, and we're going to do a signing. So right here, you can see when they receive your signing, what is your client going to see? It's going to have your name. So it's going to come from a familiar source. The email address is going to be for Authentisign. So they cannot email that email address. And you'll see in the subject line, it's always going to say your signature is requested. And then it's going to have the name of the transaction. So 4666 College Park Drive. And it does tell us here what forms we used for that. It just shows the IABS on there. On our second transaction, excuse me, on our second transaction, I'll show you how you can customize the name. Let's click on that email. Now here is my little logo that I added, or my banner that I added up here. I'll scroll down. It says signing invitation. Here's the message. All right, they're inviting you to participate as a signing party in an Authentisign e-signature document signing. All they have to do is click start signing. It's going to take them into Authentisign. Now they have to accept the terms of use because this is an electronic signature. So by accepting this, they are saying that this is a valid signature, even though it's not hand signed, it's going to be electronic. So from here, they have some options for their viewing. If they need to zoom in, the zoom settings are on the top left. They can use the plus or minus sign, or they can click on the drop-down menu. If they want to read everything, they can do that fit to width option. It's going to give them the best view for them to be able to read the entire set of documents that they're going to be signing here. On the top right, they can print or download these blank forms, but I wouldn't use this option unless they want to see the before and after. When they complete the signing, Authentisign is automatically going to email them a copy of each signed document as a PDF as well. So you don't even have to send it to them. They're going to get it automatically. From here, let's click on that start button. The start button is going to take us to the first signature box. All right. And now right here, I'm going to click on that signature box. First thing they need to do to start their signings is they need to select a signature. They have 3 options for that signature. Very first one is a style. This means they're just going to use a font that was already created by Instanet or by by Lone Wolf. So many names, one company. Lone Wolf is the company. They created all of these fonts here for you to use. So they'll just select from this drop-down menu, whichever one that they prefer. Let's go with that first one. That's option number 1, probably the easiest option, right? Option number 2, if they prefer to draw their signature, they can use their mouse as a pen and they can draw their signature. It's not going to be anything fancy, but they can do that by just clicking and dragging. If they want to do that, they can. Fabulous. All right, that's option number 2. Option number 3, if they really want the satisfaction of signing their name and using their real signature, they can use the upload option. This is going to have them write their signature, first and last name, and their initials on a sheet of paper. They will then have to take a picture of those, upload it to their device, and then upload it to the signing. But if they really absolutely want to use their real signature, this does give them that option. All right, we're going to stick with the style. So I'm going to go to option number 1. And I am going to uncheck this box, but if you're going to do multiple transactions with the same person, they only have to do this the first time. And if they keep this checked, they don't have to set up a signature every time. All right, but I do need to keep that unchecked just for my purposes. That way it is there for every single class. And then all that's left is to set signature. From here, all I need to do is click on each signature box until I get to the end. And keep an eye on this bar at the top. Your progress bar is going to show you how many signatures and how many initials you have to do. We are 8% through, so let's keep on clicking each box. 17%, 25, let's keep going. It's mostly those initial boxes at the bottom of each page. Then we've got a signature box here, same thing, 75% there. And it's just a single click for each one. This is number 12 out of 12. Once they do the final signature, they can either complete the signing or they can click on the X at the top of the page to review and make sure everything looks correct. So you can see that signature and the date is on there. If I scroll up just one page, there's the initials. They can review this if they need to. And then if they want to complete that signing, they just need to click that finish at the top right-hand side, that green button with the flag, and then they can complete the signing. And that is it. That is all they have to do. They're going to get this confirmation screen and they can either print or download. But remember, excuse me, sorry, I got a little hiccups there. But remember, they're going to receive an email with those signed documents. I just got to give it some time for it to send. And there it is, signing complete. There is each document that they signed. All right. I say document now because these are PDFs. They were forms when we sent them and they came back as documents. All right. So now you are the pro that is going to be able to explain to your clients how that signing process is going to work. So from here, let's take a look at our signing page. Back in agent mode, we can see it updated the status to completed. Shows 1 out of 1 completed. If I hover over show participants, Miranda B has a check mark next to her name. Now, if I want to view my signed documents, over here on the right, I've got my menu. I'm going to go to the documents section. Here's where I have my documents. Anytime that I complete a signing, it's going to create its own folder. So that's that very first one here. I can click on that folder to view the signed documents that my client signed. And here we have the 3 signed documents. Each of them are going to have this green padlock icon to signify that it is certified and digitally signed. All right, that's why they're agreeing to those terms of use so that this can be a certified signature here. So over here on the right, if you need to get approval or if your broker needs to review any of those documents, this bell icon is where you will submit those for review. All right, so that's where you could send those to your broker. If you need to share these with someone else, if you need to send this over to the listing agent, top right hand side, I'm sorry, not top right, just far right hand side, click on that menu option. And here's all of your action items. All right, so you have all of these options in here. And I'll show you an alternate path to get to your action items. If you need to send documents, you can also click on the little selection here, get that checkbox, and you also have your basket, which will have your action items. So both of those 2 are checked, the 1 to 4 and the third-party financing. If I go to my basket, here are my items here as well. I can still send it for review, but I can also move it to another location. If I need to email it or print it, those options are going to be over here on the right. Yes, there is a fax option. You have the email, the print over here, email and print. All right, we are not going to send these out because this is just a practice transaction. So we're going to close out of it. But you have 2 ways to get there. Either select it and go to the basket or go to the individual menu for the individual documents there. All right, let's go back to our dashboard in our transaction. Click on dashboard. Now that we kind of see the different areas that we can go to, this is where you can customize your dashboard. So if you want to customize that dashboard, click on the padlock icon. Top right hand side, click on that padlock icon. It's going to make this editable, and here are all the different widgets you have access to. So you can pick and choose how you'd like to organize your dashboard. This is going to be the same setting for all of your transactions, not just the individual transaction. But you can drag and drop any of these in here. If I want to upload documents from my device, I can do that. Just click and drag. Email documents, all these other items here. I can set up checklists to keep track of my items I need to do. If I need to look at my Authenticign, I have access to my signings in here. Anything that you need. If you want to keep track of phone calls, if you have any need to document the phone calls that you take, you have call logs on here. So it's up to you how you set this up. Another thing I like about this is you can not just rearrange them, but you can also adjust the size of these different sections. You can make them big, you can make them more narrow but longer, so you can see all of the contacts in there. I can extend that out. It's a lot more customizable than what we are used to seeing. All right, so it's up to you how you set that up. When you're done arranging your screen, click on that padlock icon again to lock it up. All right, now I've got way more options on my dashboard for the transaction. We can do the same thing with the agent dashboard. So again, top left-hand corner, click on that menu option and then go to your dashboard. Same thing, look for the padlock icon. Padlock icon is right up here. And you have similar functions on here, but keep in mind your agent dashboard is going to be for all of your transactions. All of the transactions, not just your transaction dashboard, which is just for that individual transaction. This is for everything. So if I go here to transactions, I can bring that in. This is going to show me all the transactions that I'm working on. I can keep track of all of them and easily go back and forth between them. Same with this signature box here. If I bring this in, let's just throw that in. I can do Authenticign. Let me move this up. All of my signings. If I need to see who's completed their signings, all of that is going to be on here. All right. That way I know, okay, this one expired. Maybe I need to resend it. Maybe I need to follow up with that signer. And then I can keep track of every signing that I've done. All right. Let me go ahead and let's just lock this up here. Click on that padlock icon. So that was our first transaction. All right. When you follow the wizard and you use the import option from MLS, it makes things a lot easier. But it's not always going to go that way. Sometimes there's other things. Maybe we have to enter the information from scratch. We can't import from MLS, or maybe we just decided to start with the transaction first. But there's ways we can make our approach more efficient and save us even more time. And that is always what I'm excited to learn about, is how can I save myself some time from having to enter all these details over and over again. So I did say that IABS, you will have to fill it in every single time. It's not going to pull the information from the transaction. But if we create a template, you can add it to your templates and pre-fill it in the template, and then you never have to fill it out again. So let's learn how to create a template. Let's go to the top left-hand side, open that menu again for the agent dashboard. And at the bottom, click on templates. This is where you'll go to create your template. Now, keep in mind, this is for the template. This is not going to create a transaction yet. From here, click on transaction templates. As you can see, I have created quite a few templates here. But if I want to create a new one, I'm going to always look for that plus sign, create a new transaction template. Click on that plus sign. The setup for this is going to be somewhat similar to when we set up a transaction, all right? First, the ownership. This might just be a broker feature here. So if you are not a broker, you should only have the option for personal. But if you are a broker, you can create a template for your office to use. That way all of your agents have what they need. Stick with that personal option here. Give it a name. So what is this going to be used for? This is going to be for residential sale. So we're going to call this our residential sale offer template. And actually, let me start that off with today's date. So I'm using the correct one. Today is 3/20. So it's my residential sale offer template. I can add the type on here. So we're going to do residential sale. And if I want to add any notes to that description, I can give myself a little reminder. What did I use this template for? What forms are on here? What did I pre-fill? It's just for your use if you need that reference or reminder. Let's save those changes. It's going to take us into the template to finish setting up. And just like our transactions, you can change those details at any time. If that name is a little too long, we can just change it to 3/20 residential sale. It can still be changed. All right. So from there, that's our details section. Let's minimize that one. If you want to add any checklists or any contacts, maybe you're working with investors and you're going to do multiple transactions with them, you can add your contacts if you need to. You have your documents and folders. So if you have an already completed form or something that's already signed, you can do the documents and folders. But the real value of these templates is when you add your forms. So let's go ahead. In the forms section, there's nothing here yet. Click on the plus sign on the far right-hand side. And we're going to look up our IABS. Now remember, we have to type the actual name, information about brokerage. Of course, it would help if I spell it correctly. Information about brokerage. There we go. From here, go ahead and select the IABS that you plan on using. I'm just going to use the same one I did before. Now, if I want to, I can add anything else that I need. So let me go ahead and add that 1 to 4. Check the little circle in there, and I'll add my third-party financing. Now, will I use this every single time? Not necessarily, but you can go ahead and add anything else you might need. Maybe you need that lead-based paint addendum, like anything else that you might or might not need in this category of a transaction. You are not required to use all of the forms just because they're part of the template. When you go to do your signing, you get to decide which forms you're going to be using. But it would be helpful to save you time and look all those forms up to have all of them in your template. That way you can just pick and choose what you need in that moment. So let's go ahead and add those 3. And we are going to go to that IABS and we're going to pre-fill it immediately. So this is the time where I will tell you, go ahead and add all of your information in here. All right. I am going to add mine as well because we will not have to do it again if we have it in here. I'm going to try to do this quickly so that we can go into our second transaction. Now, our second transaction, while you're typing this in, let's talk about that one. The second transaction, we are still going to use the import from MLS option, so I'll give you that number. And we are also going to use our template. So we're not going to have to look up any forms. We're not going to have to pre-fill this IABS that we're doing right now. The only thing we're really going to need to do is review the information and add our contacts, which is going to be 2 buyers this time. Because I want you to see you can do 2 buyers and there's some additional features within the signing. Sorry, I can't type this name and talk at the same time. It's going to give you some ways to organize how you coordinate the 2 signings for 2 individuals that are going to be on that same transaction. So it's a really great tool for us to be able to see the signing order, because if they're using the same email inbox, it can get confusing. And since I only have one pretend client account, it will both be on the same email. Just adding the MLS contact information. So if you ever need support with any of our systems, not just Transaction Desk, with Matrix, with any of our CMA products, with your auto emails, anything that is in the MLS, if you need support with this, that is the number that you're going to call or the email address that you'll send to get support from our MLS support team. If I am not teaching class, I am also answering emails. I'm also answering phone calls. So I'll go ahead and add my direct contact information if you prefer to speak with me. Just keep in mind, we do have a busy schedule here. So if you come directly to me, it might take a little bit longer than going directly to the team, but I am happy to help you guys directly one-on-one if you ever need it. So there's my contact info as well. Or if you just want to see when my next class is coming up, I'm happy to answer those questions. All right, so I pre-filled my IABS. Now I can go ahead and save and exit, and this is always going to be in this template. Now, before we navigate away from here, I want to make one very important announcement about this template. If Texas Realtors or TREC update their forms, all right, and we know last year there were a lot of changes going on with the forms. There were new forms, there were updated forms. Anytime a form is updated or added, this is not going to update your template. So if there is a new form and you have a template with the old one, you will need to update the template. All right, it's not going to replace it for you. So just remember that. All right, if you ever forget, just give us a call. We'll remind you. But don't forget, this is going to stay here. All right, and if it's a form that's being removed, you will not be able to use it in your transaction anyway. So you'll know. All right, let's go back to our menu on the agent side. Click on that agent menu. And this time we're going to start our transaction from Instanet. So click on that transactions button there. All right, click on transactions. Now, if we are going to start a transaction, we already know if we start anything new, we're going to click on that plus sign, and our plus sign is over here. But before we do that, this is where all of your transactions will be. So all my transactions are here. I can switch from this gallery view to a list view if that's easier for me to keep track of things. I can scroll through and see all of my transactions are here. I also have filters at the top if I need to go by date, by type, or by status. I can do that in here as well. All right, so this is where your transactions are going to be if you need to come back to any of your previous ones. Let's go ahead and create the new one by clicking that plus sign. And from here, let's go ahead. I'm going to skip the name and I'm going to go straight to import data. Let's see, actually, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about zip form, but I'm still going to do this here. I'm going to import my data here. Let me go ahead and add the MLS number again. If you're following along, use the same number. We're going to go with 208518112. That's our MLS number. So import data, we select Netris, and we entered that MLS number 208518112. For the name of this transaction, let's say we're going to go with Bailey/Warren initial offer, because we're going to have two signers on here. All right, so these are the last names of both of my signers. Now remember, we were using a template for this example. So now if you didn't have any templates before, go to that template drop-down menu and you should see 320 residential sale. That is the template we created. So go ahead and select that template. When you select your template, it's automatically going to decide, or not decide, but it's going to remove the type, because it knows this template is for a residential sale, so it already selected it for us, and it already listed us as the selling agent. All right, so with all that information, we have our MLS number, we have our template. Do not leave that wizard unchecked, all right? Don't touch it, leave it checked. Click create. Let's go on to the next step here. So once again, it's going to import the data from MLS, so we're not going to need to enter any of that in. Here it is. There's the property. Here's the address. All the information's already in here, so I don't need to add anything in right now. But remember, you can always add information and it will add it to the forms. Let's go to step 2. Transaction dates. Once again, we can add our transaction dates if we need to. We'll go ahead and move on. Step 3 is our contacts. We do need to edit the information on here. So on that seller, we can go ahead and update that seller name. Remember, click on that little menu, select edit, and we will change this to the same person, Sally Seller. She has a lot of properties that she's selling right now. Sally Seller. And I'm just going to save those changes. And this time we're going to add our buyers. Remember, we have 2 buyers that are going to sign these forms. So let's add the first one. Click add. And you know what? This time, let me add Miranda Bailey from existing contacts. Add existing contact. You can search for your client. Now, you might notice here, I actually have a lot of Miranda Baileys on here, so it is going to give me a lot of them. I'm just going to select one of them, and then I can add it from my previous transaction into the new one. All right. Now, the nice thing here is if their role has changed, it's going to take you to update their information just in case if it's been several years, if they have a new email, new phone number, anything like that, you can make those changes before you add them on. Or maybe they're your seller this time and not your buyer. You can change their type from buyer to seller or anything else on this list as long as it applies. But we're not going to change anything here. Her information hasn't changed. Let's go ahead and save that. We're going to add buyer number 2. So click that add button again. This one is going to be a new transaction contact. All right. So we're going to add the type as a buyer. First name is going to be Ben. Last name is going to be Warren. And it'll be the same email address. So for those of you following along, use that same email. And then you can leave that checked if you want to add them to your address book. If not, uncheck it. And let's save those changes. Now we have both of our contacts in here. Now let's go to the next step here, our forms, and look at that. All of our forms are already on here. Let's see if it worked. Let's go into the IABS, fingers crossed. Do I have to fill this in again? I sure hope not. Scroll down, moment of truth. Here we go. And that is why we use a template. It's already filled in. Let's go ahead and click Save and Exit. All right. Now we already know the functions of the other forms, so we're not going to pre-fill these forms this time since we've only got about just under 20 minutes left. Let's go to the next step. Let's add a document. I'm going to go ahead and add a PDF. So if you don't have, look at all these documents that are already on there. They have a lot on there. I'm going to add a PDF. If you don't have a blank PDF to use, don't worry. Just look at what I'm going to provide on the screen. Let me just do a blank document. And we're going to add signatures to a blank document because there's a difference between our forms and documents when it comes to the e-signing process as well. All right. So if you need to manually add anything on there, that's what we want to use that blank document for. That's step 5. Let's click done. And remember, we customized our dashboard, so all my customizations are still here. Now, since my forms are already ready to go, I'm just going to go straight to the signings page this time. So just another option for you to start that signing. Over here on the right, remember the right is the transaction menu. Go to your signings. We don't have anything in here just yet. So remember, look for that plus sign to start something new. Click on add. Now we can give it a custom signing name. I'm going to go ahead and stick with the name of the transaction, Bailey/Warren initial offer. And that's all I'm going to put in there. Let me save that. Now it's going to take me into Authentisign. Now notice here, there are no forms, no documents in here just yet. We can add those in. So let me go do that first. We can click on add a document or form. Now remember, you don't have to do that from here. You can also go from over here. But let's just add those in now so we can see the before and after from when we add the signature boxes. So we're going to add that IABS. We're going to add the 1 to 4. We're going to add the third-party financing. And then I am going to add my document, my example blank document. I'm going to add that in so that we can see what it looks like when we use a PDF instead of a smart form. Once you see those 4 check boxes, or if you don't have a blank document, you'll have 3. Go ahead and close that. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit so you can see there's no signature boxes just yet, right? Over here on the right, my documents page is already open. One other thing you can do, you can actually rearrange these pages if you want to put them in a different order. So maybe the IABS, I actually want that to be the last one. I can just drag and drop it, and it's going to bring the 1 to 4 up to the top. So it's up to you how you organize those. You don't have to upload them in any particular order. You can rearrange them from this page. Now let's go up to that first box there for the signers. Let's add both of our signers. Remember, we're going to click on Add Participants, and we're going to add from our transaction. And from here, I'm going to select Miranda and Ben. I'm going to leave both of them as remote signers because they're both signing this. Now, once I click Select, you're going to see they're going to have different colors assigned to them. All right. And then I can see I've got the yellow for Miranda Bailey and the blue for Ben Warren. Now, this is where, let's scroll down ever so slightly on this form. This is where we're going to see each one is assigned to the correct location. So it's got the signature boxes on here. But if they're going to use the same email address, if I were to send the signing to them like this, it's going to send the invitation to them at the same time. So we do run the risk, since they have the same email inbox, we do run the risk of them signing the wrong person's signing invitation. In order to avoid that, we can set a signing order. All right. So on the top right-hand side, we've got this little switch here. Right here, it says set signing order. If I switch this on, it's going to give them a number. So Miranda's number 1, Ben is number 2. You can change this if you want to. I'm going to leave it as it is. But what does this do? The signing order, when I send the signature or e-sign packet to my client, it is only going to send one invitation to person number 1. So Miranda Bailey is going to receive her invitation. She's going to go through the entire signing process. When she completes the signing, then the invitation will automatically be sent to signer number 2. So because they're using the same inbox, it's going to make sure that the right person signs the correct one in order. Of course, I'm going to let them know in advance. Miranda's going to receive it first, and then when she's done, Ben will receive his. All right? But that's going to help kind of keep things a little cleaner, a little more organized. Now, let's go from signers. We already have our documents. We can still edit this if we need to, but let's go to our tools now. So these are all of your signature tools. If you need to add the manual signature boxes, these are all your action items. You can filter between the different signers. Everything is going to change to their corresponding color. Let me go back to Miranda here. Now I'm going to go into this middle section here because I want to go to the blank form. So I'm just going to scroll down. It was, I think, the very last one. So I'm just going to go straight to the bottom here. But notice as we make our way down, we have both signature boxes on both lines. All right. So here's my blank form here. All right. It's not going to add any signature boxes on a PDF. So I need to manually add it. How do I do that? Right over here in the signer actions section, I can click and drag. So I'm going to go over sign here, click and drag. Just like with our widgets, click and drag, and I'm going to move this to the form. Once I let it go, it's going to add it on here. The signatures will always be listed as required, and it's always going to have the month, day, and year. So now I can switch from Miranda to Ben, and same thing, I can click and drag, sign here, and place it on that form, on that document. I have some additional tools here as well. If I click on the signature box, click on it, I can delete this if I added it by mistake, but on the right, back in the signature section, it's going to give me some additional options here. I can change the scale of the box if I want to make it bigger or I need to make it smaller, depending on the form or document that you're using. You may need to adjust the size of each box. Also, if you don't need it to be required, it can be optional. You can turn that off. Or maybe we need the signature and their written name, you can add a name block. And if you want to get extra detailed, you can add a timestamp next to the date. Let's go ahead and do that on both of them. I'm going to click on the Miranda Bailey signature box, add the name block, add the timestamp. That way it looks the same. Now I can click anywhere else to get out of this menu. It'll take me back to the main menu here. So up here, these are the action items. This is going to mean all of these are for your signer to take action, either for signatures, for adding text, for making selections. All right, this is for the signing. If I need to add information like their name, their email, date and time,
I can add those either with this here, but we already have it with the name block. So just an alternative option. Again, click on it, click on that little trash can icon to delete anything that you added by mistake. And then at the bottom, I have a markup option. So if there's anything that I need to add in here, if I need to highlight, if I need to add a line, strike through anything, an ellipse, a freehand, I can do that through here. So let me add a text box. Let's say there's one section I forgot to add text in. I can click on the text box option and then click on the area that I need to add text. I'm just going to go up here, click there. It's going to create the text box for me. Now I can click on this box and add my text. So sign this if you are happy today. All right, whatever you need to add in there. Obviously, you probably wouldn't use this as your text on any of your documents, but for today's class, we're just going to do that. If I need to make this a little bit bigger, I can adjust my font size here. The font color can be changed. Maybe we'll do green. Oh, no, never mind. That's way too bright. Let's go to blue. There we go. That's easier on the eyes there. Anything else in here you can change. Maybe we'll bold it too. All right. Then I can click anywhere else on the screen to exit from that text box. Now from here, let me go ahead and send my signing. All right. Actually, let me just quickly talk about these other options here. If you have something that you're going to use frequently, and you know how we have these forms, they automatically know where to place the signature boxes, where to place these month or these timestamps, date stamps. This layout section will let you create your own custom layout for all of your signature boxes. Now, I do encourage you to explore your forms libraries and look at the other forms that you have access to in here. A lot of it is already done for you by Lone Wolf. But if you want to create your own, maybe there's something that your office uses, you can create your own layout. That way you can also make a layout where you don't have to add the signature boxes and initial boxes every single time. That's really going to save you some time as well. All right. How do you do that? Click on layout options and you can create a layout. All right. If you have a layout you've already created for any of the documents you upload, you can apply that layout. All right. Last thing here, options. This is just going to be for that expiration date, for the reminders, or if you need to sign anything, you can customize your signature from here. And then, of course, Lone Wolf is always asking for feedback about Authentisign. So if you want to give your feedback or if you want them to contact you about your feedback, you can do that here. All right, let's go ahead and click next. We're going to get this sent out. Before we send it, I want to show you, you can customize the invitation. If you want to give them some special instructions, add a custom message, you can do that for each one. So maybe if you want to explain that we're going to do a signing order, so how is the signing order going to work, or how the Authentisign system works, or just let them know you're going to receive a copy of this automatically. There's no need to download it. You have a custom message section here. All right. And if you forgot to customize the subject for the email, you can still update it in this section. All right. I'm going to save that and go ahead and send it out. And let me find my inbox here. All right. And hopefully it has already been delivered. There it is. Look how quick that comes through. So here's the new signing invitation. Now I'm back on my client inbox. And I'm going to click on that email here. It's going to show me at the beginning who this is assigned to, Miranda Bailey's first. All right. I'm going to click on Start Signing. And we already know we need to accept the terms and conditions, and we need to click on the first signature box in order to create our signature. Now from here, I'm just going to stick with the basic style option. I'm not going to create anything new. So I'm going to set that signature, and I'm going to complete the signing here. I'm going to do this pretty quickly because I want us to see the signing order. I want us to see the second email come through. So I'm going to click on all these signature boxes, and we're about to get to our custom page here. So you can see here, sign this if you're happy. There's our little custom message we added. Here's the signature box. Notice how it's only the signature box for Miranda, not the one for Ben. So we're going to see the difference when we get to the second signing because this is going to be on here. Click on that signature box and look at our beautiful IABS that we already filled out. Complete that signing.
Let's go ahead and hit complete. And now I'm going to close out of this page, go back to my inbox. And fingers crossed, did I receive the second signing invitation? How quickly is signer number 2 going to get that invitation? It's already there. Already there. So once again, let's click on this. And notice how here the text is a different color, and it does say Ben Warren at the top of that one. So let's start that signing. Let's accept the terms. And same thing, we're going to go ahead and click on that first signature box. You can already see Miranda's initials are on here. And then we're going to stick with just that basic option there, set the signature. Now, let's say for this one, they're going through the process. Everything's looking good so far. But then they notice that there's something wrong with this document. Something was incorrectly added, or something in here doesn't have the right spelling of their name. If they notice anything incorrect, they do have a reject option. If they reject anything, you should receive an email to your inbox, the one that's associated with your Instanet account. But let's go ahead and look at that. Let's click on reject. Let's see how it looks for them. It's going to ask, are you sure you want to reject the document? And it's going to have them select a reason. They have some preset reasons on here. Purchase price is incorrect, closing date, the deposit amount, the listing conditions are incorrect, my name, or the address. Or they can select an other option, and then they can tell you specifically what is the reason for the rejection. Let's say for this one, the purchase price is incorrect because we did not put a purchase price on this. So we'll do that. Let's say confirm, and it's going to send that in an email to me regarding that rejection. All right, so from here, let me minimize this. Let's go back to our signing. Right here, it's going to show the status updated to rejected. So you'll be able to see that if you have AuthentiSign on your dashboard, you'll be able to see this was rejected here as well. And then you can follow up with your client to see what's going on with that. Now, if I hover over show participants, it will show me Miranda completed her AuthentiSign, but Ben rejected it. It has that red X next to it. All right. Now let's say if let's say they just did it by mistake. They didn't mean to reject it. They just wanted to see what the button did and they want it to be resent. We can resend the invitation, or we can reset the invitation. All right. So these are your options in here as well. If you need to do something else, let's click on that reset option. What does it do? This is going to reset all of the data, all the signed documents. So it's basically starting over from the beginning. I'm going to click no on here. And then if we resend the invitation, it is, oh, I don't think it's going to let us do that. Sorry. If it is a resending, it has to be unsigned or not rejected. So it's got to be sent only. If they accidentally delete that email before they start the signing, then we can resend it. But you can always reset it and start over. All right, let me go back to the home page, back on the dashboard. Let's just see that other view. If you have the AuthentiSign view here, you can see that it was rejected. And again, your email is going to have the details on why it was rejected. All right, so we have about just about a minute or so left in our class. I don't see any questions coming up here. If there's anything that you'd like to see again, let me know. I'll stay on a couple minutes longer when class is out at 12. If anybody if anybody would like to discuss anything specific about your transactions. And I will also, let's go ahead and look at this real quick. If you need to leave at 12, you're welcome to go. But I do want to show you that you have the option to create a listing within Transaction Desk. So let me show you how to do that real quick with just some little extra bonus content. I'm going to click on the menu over here. And I'm going to go to transactions because I want to organize this as a transaction. Again, if we're going to do anything new, click on that plus sign. And what I'm going to do here is let's call this is going to be a new listing. So I'm just going to say 777 Lucky Street. That's my new listing here. So I can go to the type and I can say this is a residential listing. When I select residential listing, it automatically adds me as the listing agent. And yes, I am going to use the wizard on this. Let's click create. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because if you use the input form in the forms library, it is going to allow you to fill it in and send it to Matrix as an incomplete listing. So let me add just some basics to the details here since we did not import from Netris. Let's add the street number again, 777. Street name is Lucky. I think we said Lucky Street. The city, we're going to go with Irving, since that's where I am in our Irving office, and we'll just do that much. 777 Lucky Street in Irving, Texas. We'll just leave it at that. All right, click next. This is for transaction dates. If I want to add my list date or my expiration date, I could do that if I want to, but it's not required. Next, you have your contacts. It's already got me as the listing agent and my brokerage on there as well. I don't need to add anything else, but this is the real thing that I want you to see. It's the forms. All right. And it is 12 o'clock. If any of you have to go, you are free to go now. It is 12. You will get the MAPS credit if you attended this class. If you completed your MAPS with this class, don't forget to email the MLS department that you completed your MAPS. If you have to go, this quick demonstration about the input form will still be included on the recording if you want to watch it later. Just keep an eye out for that email. It'll come to you in about 1 to 2 business days. All right, for those of you that are going to stay for this quick demo, here in the forms, we're going to click add and we're going to go into our Netris input forms here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the folder this time. And it's going to show me all of the input forms I have access to. So I could do any of these types of listings. I'm going to stick with the residential data input form. This is your residential sale category. And I'm going to click on that little circle there to select it and click add. All right. From here, I can click next. I don't need to add any documents, so I'm done with the wizard. And now I can go back to my forms and I can fill in that input form. So let's say maybe you're going to take this on a listing appointment. You have your laptop or your tablet with you. You can fill this input form out on that device. It's a pretty big document, so it'll take a little for it to load here. There we go. So we've got our input form here. All of these fields are clickable. You'll just select whatever applies. You do not have to have everything complete on this in order to send it to Matrix. All right, just as much as you are able to do during this transaction or during this appointment, whatever you are able to figure out about this property. But look at this here. It does have my address on here. So again, it helps with the filling of the form. Now, I do want to point out the Instanet transaction does not have a street type field. So I did write the street type into the street name, but since it has a street type drop-down menu, I'm going to delete street and I'm going to add it over here to the street type. All right. So just keeping things a little organized. Let me go ahead and let's see, the city did not add. Let me add my county, Dallas County. The thing about the input form here, and this is also going to happen in Matrix, you have to select your state in order to have the counties, and you have to select your county in order to have your cities on these drop-down menus. You don't type them in, it's a drop-down. So let's go ahead and select Irving. And then if we want to do a zip code, I think our zip code is 75063, if I'm not mistaken. We'll just go with that. All right, so you've got some location information. Now, for an incomplete listing, you need to add your MLS ID. So let's go down to page 16. Use that open book there. Go to page 16. Let's say I have a lot of information here, but I'm going to finish the rest of it in Matrix. Let me go ahead and go to my next appointment. I need to make sure I have my agent information and my agent ID. So if you don't have that on here, make sure you add your MLS login ID. That is going to be that license number starting with 0. All right. So make sure you have that on there. As long as that information is there, on the top right-hand side next to save and exit, you have upload listing. This is what's going to push it to Matrix. So I'm going to click upload listing. If you don't see it, let me zoom in again. I'll show you what just the icon looks like if it's not showing. Remember, save and exit is the X. Upload listing is going to be this open box of files. And of course, when you hover over it, it'll show you what it is. So I'm going to click on upload listing. Let's see what happens. All right, so that is still loading here, but you can see upload results. Your listing has been uploaded to Matrix as incomplete. You can only go to incomplete from Instanet. You can't go active or anything. So don't worry about accidentally activating a listing. And then here, your listing's MLS number is going to be right there. So if you want to save that, you can. And then you can go over to Matrix. If you, let me zoom out here, forgot that I did that. If you want to take a look at that listing, go to your input. Very top right-hand side, input. Now, if I go to my quick modify drop-down menu, let me zoom in again, just a little bit. Quick modify drop-down menu, is it going to have my listing? There it is, 777 Lucky Street. I can click on this to continue working on my listing. Now, if you pushed your listing to Matrix and you don't need this listing, you can delete that incomplete listing right here. Just click delete incomplete status listing and then change this little drop-down menu to a yes, and you can delete that listing. Make sure you are deleting the listing that we just created and not something that you're actually working on, because we have no way of getting it back if you do delete it. All right, so that will wrap up our class.